Hello, everyone. Welcome to Genealogy Adventures. I'm Brian Sheffy.
And I'm Danya Williams. Hello on this very cold but yet beautiful Sunday.
As always, thank you so much for spending this hour with us. And I'm just going to get into it because this is going to be a really interesting and really amazing show. Again, Donnie and I appreciate that over the last couple episodes we've delved into some pretty emotional things. So this is kind of something a little bit more uplifting and a different aspect of women's history that I hope that everyone's going to find really fascinating. So without further ado, we're here to talk about a book that was written about a woman called Lucille Denard Shazier, otherwise known as Mother Shazier to her religious community. And she's 108 years old. You heard it. She's 108. She was born to 109. Thank you. Corrected in real time. She's 109. She was born to a sharecropper in Worth County, Georgia in 1913. Her mother died when she was a toddler. Her surrogate mother was an amazing, loving aunt, a woman who just so happens also to have raised her father, whose name is Jake. So her childhood on the farm was very busy with farm work and household chores, as you can imagine. After her marriage to Eddie C. Shazier, she became the owner and operator of Eddie's Barbecue Stand. And it turns out Lucille was something of a domestic and international traveler. And again, I'd love to find out more about that too. And we are joined today, and unfortunately, Mother Shazier is feeling a little under the weather today. We're hoping she may join us at some point in the broadcast. But otherwise, we are here with the amazing author, Mary Beal. She's an author, family administrator, and home care consultant. She's trusted in her expertise in paralegal services, caregiving, and what's called natural wellness. You think about that kind of whole body, holistic approach to medicine. From reviewing legal documents to researching family history, Mary is a single-stop shop for the supportive services that help families to stress less and focus on what matters, each other. She is a trusted advisor to families across the country. Everything Mary does comes back to family. Through her vital work, she's an ever-present reminder of what legacy truly is, the 3 L's: lineage, longevity, and love. Welcome to the show, Mary.
Thank you so very much.
Well, we're just so happy to have you on to talk about this amazing book and this remarkable woman, Mother Shazier, and her history. And I suppose I'm going to start with a softball question. We know a little bit about it, but the audience doesn't. What actually brought you to this story, to Mother Shazier's history?
Well, Mother Shazier, as we call her here, and some people pronounce it Shazier, but we call her Shazier. She is a friend of my mother. And so one day I went to visit her, and sitting on her front porch, we got into a conversation. And she wanted to know some of the people that we knew in common. And so she mentioned one person, and she said, "Do you know her? Her name is also Lucille." She said, "Do you know Lucille Dixon?" I said, "Of course I know. That's Aunt Han." I referred to her by her nickname, which was my mother's best friend. So long story short, we continued the conversation. And I said, "Yes, Aunt Lucille, Aunt Han, was featured in my mother's book, the book I wrote about my mother." And she said, "Let me see." I didn't have the book with me. So I went home, got the book, and brought it back, and I showed it to her. She said, "Yes, that sure is Han." So that's how we got started. And as she flipped through the book, I said, "Mother, would you like for me to write a book about you?" She said, "What would you say?" I say, "A lot." So that's how I got started.
So is she still living in Worth County, Georgia, or has she moved away from that community?
She moved away from Worth County as a child to live with her aunt who lived here in Cordele, Georgia. And that's where she's currently living. Mm-hmm. Yeah, but she moved away to Florida for several years, about 20, 30 years. And she came back to take care of a family member.
Mm-hmm. And I guess as soon as I hear the words farming, farm community, Georgia, are we talking about kind of her formative years were spent in a very rural kind of part of Georgia?
That is correct. Yes.
And is it kind of fair to say that most people in that county are related to each other?
Well, her life changed. Where she was born, she didn't live there long. Her father remarried, and she moved to another town called Ocilla, Georgia. So she spent her early childhood between Cordial, Georgia, and Ocilla, Georgia, which is about 45 miles apart from each other.
And I guess, what was it like interviewing a centenarian about their life history? I mean, that's just something that doesn't happen to all of us all the time.
Well, I feel like I was blessed because my mother, who was a centenarian, she died at 101. And she had told us growing up that her great-grandmother, Rachel Fields, lived to be at least 112, because she said when she turned 12 years old, Grandma Rachel was 112. So there was longevity in my maternal side. And my mother had one aunt to live past 100. And she had one sister who was 99 and a half, and several other family members to become centenarians.
And again, when we were in the green room, you dropped a little bomb on us saying that Mother Shazier actually had a 90-year-old son.
That is correct. That is correct. She has only one child, and he's 90 years old.
That is amazing. That is just absolutely amazing to be able to, your own mom to live to be that long, her grandmother to live to, I mean, how does that make you feel? Do you feel like you're going to live to be that long?
I really don't know, but, I can say, and I'm proud to say that last year I turned 75. So, and I don't, I don't feel it, but I don't know. But I'm thankful for every day.
Amen.
So I'm just trying to think of the polite way of asking the next question. So how many levels of great-grandchildren does she have?
I don't know if we can count.
So more than a few.
We did just a short genealogy. We didn't go to the whole list because you leave somebody out and they'll get upset. Mm-hmm. So I had that experience with my own family. I tried to do a chart and someone got left off the chart, and I don't think I've lived it down, and it's been since 2015. So I'm still trying to politically correct to get a chart done.
But I'm thinking that, that's so amazing for her family. I was blessed to have at least two of my great-grandmothers until I was a teenager to learn something about their families and their family history. So, hopefully her stories and her knowledge and her family history is being handed down all of those generations.
Yes, we trying to do that. And since she only has one child and he is 90, I'm trying to work with her grandchildren for them to pick up where I started with this and expand on that.
And I guess there's a kind of common belief, I guess kind of all around the world, that an easy life translates into a long life. And while, Mother Shazier had the normal ups and downs that anyone has, again, she was born to a sharecropper. She, as a young kid was working on a farm. So that aspect, parts of that's a hard life. What does she attribute to her being 109?
I think the love of family, or her spirituality, her love of people. She is a very loving person, and so I think that has aided her. That if you had a one-on-one conversation with her, you can discern that much. Mm-hmm. That she doesn't meet strangers. She's has a very strong voice. That's the reason I wanted her to be on, so you can see for yourself how strong she still is.
And again, the flavor that I was getting through the book was that in a way she had two families. She has, because she's still very much with us, she has two families. One very much her biological family, and then the other one was her family of I guess what I would call her family of faith.
Yes. She does. And, she has I shouldn't say most, a large number of her acquaintances now are children of her friends, and they rally around her. So, yes. And many of them was not of the same church or the same faith, but they rally around her.
So I have a question. I guess my question is coming because Brian and I being genealogists, I never got the opportunity. We're like totally different. He was able to get to know great grandparents. I never got to know any grandparents. So to be able to have someone like that is so amazing to me. How does a person not sit at her feet every day and like bug her about information?
I should say, I know several of her grandkids, and I know they have constant contact, and some of her great grands I've gotten to meet, and they have constant contact, but they no longer live here, or some of them never lived here in this town. But she goes and visits them, and they rally around her. I remember when I drove her to Atlanta in November, there were 3 of her great grandsons there waiting to get her out of the car to make sure they assisted her in, and you could see the love of the kids, and they was glad to have. They call her Big Mom. They was glad to see Big Mom. Okay.
So I'm sitting here thinking, Donia has written a family history book. I've written 2 books about how to do genealogy, and I'm thinking if I had to write about someone who was 109 years old, who had 109 years worth of history, how did you decide what was going to go in the book? What may have been like a nice story to put in the book, but there just wasn't. How did you make those kind of decisions?
Those decisions came about through a process of interaction with Mother Shazier. She has a front porch that's screened in, and sitting there talking to her, she will mention certain things or certain places. And so that's how I got to write about them. And see, she's very civic minded. She would vote in every election. So when we would be traveling to the voting polls, she'll say, well, we used to vote over here. And she would say, the colored people had to go here to vote, So that's how I got a lot of information just listening to her.
Wow. See, you just dropped a bomb just in itself, just by saying, and the colored people would go up here. Because she, when you think about her age, she's gone through us being Negroes, being colored people, being Black, being African American. Like, she's gone through all of these different names for us.
Yes.
I don't know about anybody that's watching us right now, but I literally have chills just by saying that.
Because, again, when we were in the green room, and I'm going to say it exactly how I said it so you can keep it real and keep it real on me. I really want to invite people to contextualize what 109 years is. Yes. When she was born, I said she grew. She would have grown up with a horse and cart, and you said
a mule and a wagon.
There we go. Because you kept me real on that one.
Yes.
There were no airplanes. There were no automobiles. I'm not even sure if there were like fly zippers or if you still had to button up your dresses and your trousers.
Yeah,
they were buttons.
It were buttons.
Just that those basic kind of everyday things. Think about it. 109 years. I can't even count how many presidents she would have known in her life. Not known personally, but known their names in her life.